Hi, this is Melanie from Hook to the Left, and this is the second video in my Stitch Study series. If this is the first time that you're visiting my channel, you can find other videos from this series here. There should be a link. I will also have it linked down below, so if you want to finish out this video and then check out that link, you're welcome to. Today we're going to be crocheting the half double crochet stitch. In this video, I'm going to assume that you have a good handle on the slip knot and the foundation chain stitch. If you don't and you need a little refresher, that's perfectly fine. Just go ahead and visit my video linked somewhere around the edges of this video, or I will also have that linked down below, and you will find a slower version of the slip knot and the chain stitch at the beginning of that video, and I do it a few times. As a reminder, I am using a worsted or 4-weight yarn and a 5.5 millimeter hook. This is what I prefer to use for this project because I do want to go ahead and link all my squares together once I finish making them. You can use whatever you would like as long as you're consistent throughout the full stitch study. For this project, you will need, of course, the hook and the yarn that we already discussed, and a pair of scissors and yarn needle. I will have a affiliate link down below to my favorite hooks and my favorite yarn needles. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way. Just like on the last square, I'm starting out with 25 stitches along the bottom. That's a little bit, that's not quite 25 chains, and I'll explain that to you in a minute, but it is going to end up being 25 stitches. And then for me, I need 21 rows to make this an even square. So, but just make sure you measure. So you can make this as big or small as you'd like. What you want to do is just make it square, so you measure how far it is across and then how far it is up. For the half double crochet, it is in multiples of 1 plus 2 for your turning chain. So since I want 25 stitches, my foundation crochet needs to be 27 stitches. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's do my slip knot. Oh, and look at that. Got a little bit of a knot there so that I have to get out. And I will probably edit this part out, but it's just the nature of the beast. Okay, so now chain, for me, 27 or however many you choose, depending on the size of the square that you want. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the chain. Okay, we're back, and I have 27 stitches in my foundation chain, and that is for the 25 stitches I want in the whole row, plus 2 stitches for my turning chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count back so 1, 2, that's my turning chain, and I'm going to go ahead and crochet in the 3rd stitch from my hook. And to do a double crochet, you yarn over, insert into your foundation chain, yarn over again, pull through. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. Then you yarn over and you pull through all 3 loops. Let's do that again. Yarn over, go through the next stitch in your foundation chain, pull through, yarn over. So now it looks like you have 4, but before you yarned over, you had 3 total loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Let's do it again. Yarn over, go through your foundation stitch, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. See how that's looking there? Let's go ahead and do 2 more real slow like that, and then I'm going to let you go to the end of the row. Yarn over, go through your foundation chain, yarn over, pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. One more time together. Yarn over, go through your foundation chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, then pull through all 3 loops. And that's what it looks like. And at the end of this video, we will compare what the foundation or the half double crochet looks like compared to the single crochet. They're very similar, but you will see some differences. So let's go ahead and finish out your chains, and then I will meet you at the end. For what I told you last time in the single crochet study, sometimes you'll see that it'll start to curl up a little bit. That's okay. Oftentimes it's going to work itself out because your foundation chain. Or if you find that it's not working itself out and your project still stays curled right here at the foundation chain, you might want to consider moving up by 0.5 millimeters on just your foundation chain, then going back to your regular hook size for the rest of the project. And that way you'll find that you have a better tension on the foundation chain. It's just that because it's a smaller stitch, we tend to have a bit of a tighter tension. I do the same thing sometimes. I also tend to have a bit of a tighter tension on single crochet as I would for a half double crochet or a double crochet. It's just all depends on how you work, and tension is one of the hardest things to learn as a crocheter. So you just get better with time and with practice. So now we are here at the end, and I'm just going to pull this out a little bit because I'm going to set my hook down while we count our stitches. We want to make sure that we're correct. I know for my my square, I want to make sure that mine is 25 stitches long and 21 rows tall, and that will get me a square. So not counting this first chain, what we're actually going to do is, instead of counting the stitches like right here, that's a stitch, that little section there, we're going to count the V's because that's what we're going to be putting our next stitches into, is the V's. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So that's the end of my very first row of half double crochets into the chain. So let's go ahead and chain 2, because that's what you need to raise your loops up to the height that is needed for a half double crochet. Chain 2 and turn our work. Okay, now that you've chained 2 and you turned your work, we're going to go ahead and start working into the stitches across. Now the difference between the half double crochet and the single crochet is that we are going to skip this first stitch because the chain counts as a stitch. So I know we didn't do that on the single crochet, and that's just because of the size of the stitch. But in this particular case, to keep our edges straight, we're going to count this chain 2 as a stitch. So this first little section here, this first V, we're not going to crochet into. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this first row, or really second row of half double crochets. So yarn over, go through, put your hook under both stitches in the V right here. When I say V, I'm talking about this right here. It looks kind of like a V, where the stitch looks like a V. So we've put our hook under both stitches. You can see them both on there. So it looks like there's kind of 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, then we're going to yarn over again, pull through. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, then pull through all 3 stitches. Let's do that again. Yarn over, go through and under both of those stitches in the V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 stitches. Let's do it 1 or 2 more times before I let you go to finish your row. Yarn over, go through both stitches of the V, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, go through both, under both stitches on the stitch that you're working. So it's 2, looks like you got almost 4 stitches there. You got your 2 loops and then your 2 pieces of yarn from the stitch. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and go off on your own, and then we'll come back together at the end of this row. Okay, so we are at the end of the second row, and I'm over here. I've got 1 more stitch to do, and it looks a little funny because it is from, you know, where we had the chain 2 to bring up the turning chain, and then we have this stitch right here, and it went kind of sideways, so you want to make sure that whenever you go through the right, underneath the right 2 stitches. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 stitches. Okay, so now we're finished with our second row. There we go. And let's do 1 more row. Let's start it together 1 more time, and then I'll let you guys go off on your own. For me, I'm going to do 21 rows, and that's going to make my project square. You have to use your own measurements depending on your tension, what size yarn you're using, and how big your square you want. You may have different numbers than I do, but for me, it works with 25 stitches across and 21 rows above. Okay, so let's do 1 more row. 1, 2, so we chain 2 to get that height, and we're going to flip our work. Remember, we talked about it on the last row. You do not want to put your start your stitches in this first chain here. You're going to start it in the second chain, because this, or in the second stitch, because this chain is going to count as a stitch. And you can even count across, counting your chain on this second row right here. You count across, you have 25 stitches. And that's a way to double check your work. Just count it across after you do a few and make sure you're still on the right track. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and this final stitch of 25. So that's just a way to keep up with yourself, to make sure that you are always on track and you have a perfectly square product here. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. Yarn over, go into that second stitch, go under both on the link, and then pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. That one's wanting to trick me a little bit there. Yarn over, go through under both stitches on the V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, then pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, go under both stitches of the V so that you have both those stitches across the top. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, then pull through all 3 loops. Let's do that 1 more time before I let you go out on your own. Yarn over, go through the full stitch so you have both sides of the stitch on your hook, on top of your hook. Yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, then pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so let's go ahead and go all the way to the end, and I'll meet you at the end. And we're going to make sure that you get that chain stitch, because since it's counting as a stitch in this row, you need to actually put one of your stitches through it. Okay? We'll get to that at the end. Let's go ahead and finish this row. We are now at the end of this row. I need to do one more stitch in here. So it looks like I could be finished, but that's not true. And we're going to count our stitches just so I can show you. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I still need one more stitch to finish my row, which means I need to make sure I create my half double crochet and put it through this stitch in the chain. So you want to count up on your chain stitch, your turning chain, 1, 2 V's, and you want to make sure that you put your stitch into and through that second V stitch or that second chain. Okay, so you yarn over, count up 2, 1, 2, put your hook through that V there. I like to make sure that there is 2 stitches across the top. It just makes for a stronger connection. Okay, and then I pull 1 loop through, so I've got so I've got 3 loops on my hook. I yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and now that was my final stitch for this row. So to start the next row, you chain 2 and turn your work. Now remember, when you do that, you're not going to go into this first stitch. You're going to go into this second stitch because your chain 2 counts as a stitch. And as you work up the 21 rows, at least for me it's 21 rows, you'll find that it's keeping your edges much straighter. And you can see that here where my edges are pretty straight. And I did it the exact same way. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out my square. I'm going to meet you guys back at the very end. And then if you need to see how the stitches are done, you can rewind a little bit and see how the beginning of the row is done and then how the end of the row is done. And we will meet you up at the very end. For me, it'll be 21 rows. So I have 22 done. So I need to do 19 more rows and then I'm finished. And I will meet up with you then. Okay, so here we are. I am almost at the end of my cloth that I've made here, and I just need two more stitches to go. So I have to yarn over, put my hook through so that it is under both loops of the stitch below, yarn over, pull through. So I have 3 loops now on my hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over. I'm on my chain stitch now, so I want to go into the second chain stitch, put my hook through, yarn over, pull the loop up. So now I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And that is it. This square is done. And I have my other 2 squares here. Now I just need to fasten off my yarn. There we go, pull it tight. And then I just need to use my needle to pass my yarn through my stitches, through my work a couple times, both ends. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through here, and I just want to make sure, yep, I'm inside the stitches. And so see, I'm inside the stitches. Put my yarn through my loop, pull down a little bit so it doesn't get stuck in there, pull through, pull it apart a little bit. Now go back the way I came, going over one of these stitches. So see, I'm going to put my needle through there so that I don't pull the yarn back through the way it came. Okay. Put my yarn in the eye. That's why I love these big eyes. It just makes it so much easier. All right, then pull through. Now, while I'm doing this, I do want to tell you that the half double crochet is actually my favorite stitch for just a regular plain beanie. You know, if you want to make one for your husband or for your child, they don't want something too fancy or with a pom-pom on it, then I like to just make, from the top down, I like to make a half double crochet beanie. And I will insert a picture, maybe over on that side. I'll insert a picture so that you can see the last one that I made. I actually just finished it this past week. Okay, so I actually don't have any yarn to snip off, so I'm going to go ahead and do my end from the very beginning for my chain and get that through my work. But yeah, that is my favorite for hats, besides the double crochet, which that's what we're going to learn next week. We're going to do the double crochet. We're going to do the double, and then my plan is to do the double and then the treble or triple crochet. And after that, I'm going to start showing you some different types of stitches, like the post stitches and the front loop and back loop stitches, just so you can see the difference. We'll probably do the front loop and back loop together, as well as the front post and the back post together in one piece of cloth, so you can see them together. And they do really well when you work them together. And in fact, the basket weave stitch is a combination of post stitch and then back loop, or yeah, I think it's back loop stitch. So perhaps after we learn those, then we'll go and we'll learn the basket weave stitch, which is a bit of a yarn eater, but so is the post stitch. Those are yarn eaters as well, but they are very cool looking. So I kind of can't wait to show you those. And it's really just doing the same stitch work that you've been doing. It's just a different way of entering your hook into it. You know how I was telling you before, where you put your hook under both stitches. Well, when you're doing loop stitches, you're just doing putting your hook under one stitch instead of both. All right, so that is our piece of cloth. And now what I want to do is compare the two, so you can see how the difference between the single crochet, here's a single crochet, and then the half double crochet in the stitch work. Put it up a little bit closer. So this one's a single crochet. This is what we did last week, and this is the half double crochet. Let me do the two of the same color. So you see that this single crochet is a stiffer, kind of a stiffer piece of cloth. And in fact, it's funny because I do, my single crochets pretty tightly, so even my edges are still curled up, and that's even after having it under a book. Whereas this is a little bit more loose. And when we do the double crochet next week, it's going to be even more loose. Let me just put that back up close again. That is the difference between the two stitches. So there we go. That is it for today's lesson. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you found it useful and are finding the stitch studies fun and are following along, please don't hesitate to subscribe and like this video. And that just really helps support me as I'm growing this channel. And I hope to see you again next week. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.